In this video, we'll show you why Novak Djokovic is more than just the statistically most successful tennis player in history, but also why the sport of tennis owes him a great deal. But let's start from the beginning, because as you know, every hero's journey begins with a dream, the dream of a young boy. Novak was born on May 22nd in Belgrade. Although his parents were professional skiers and later worked as ski instructors, Djokovic discovered a different passion: tennis. At the age of 4, young Novak watched Serbian tennis player and coach Jelena Genčić playing tennis in Kopaonik from behind a fence. She noticed the young boy and took him under her wing. Jelena quickly recognized Novak's talent and told his parents that he had the potential for a glorious career. However, it was uncertain whether young Novak could pursue his dream of becoming a great tennis player. Compared to countries like Spain, France, Switzerland, or Great Britain, Serbia had neither state financial support nor the necessary infrastructure to nurture talents like Novak. The Djokovic family, already living at the subsistence level, had to find private sponsors to support Novak's career. In an interview, Novak's mother, Dejana, said, "I woke up every morning not knowing how I would buy bread for us. We had many sleepless nights. The worry made me sick." Novak's father approached all potential sponsors, but no one was willing to support the family, so he had to borrow money from people involved in illegal activities. The risk he took and the pressure Novak experienced as a result need not be further explained here. This was not the only challenge Novak Djokovic would face in his life. No other tennis player in history has ever displayed the elegance in his shots like the maestro Roger Federer. In 2003, Roger Federer's star rose when he won his first Grand Slam title at Wimbledon, defeating the Australian Mark Philippoussi. From that moment on, Federer set the standard, winning title after title. Between 2003 and 2004 alone, he claimed 4 out of 8 Grand Slam titles and quickly became a fan favorite. But while Federer was dominating the tennis world, another legend was rising. On the clay courts of Roland Garros, a young Spaniard named Rafael Nadal was making waves with his incredible athleticism and tenacity. Between 2005 and 2010, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal dominated the tour, sharing most of the Grand Slam titles between them. No other player had the ability to consistently break through the phalanx of Roger and Rafa. Both players became fan favorites as they represented the future of tennis. The tennis world was divided into 2 camps. You were either Team Roger or Team Rafa.
Let's talk about the guy that he's taken on today, Novak Djokovic, and what do we know about him and what can you expect from him?
Not a lot. This kid is the youngest kid in the draw. He just turned 18 last week. He's tall and he's skinny and he's very, very hungry. In fact, when you look at him, it looks like he's hungry literally and figuratively. Do I like him against Korea? No, but we'll see what the kid's got.
Although Djokovic won the Australian Open in 2008, he struggled to prove his consistency. He often faced breathing issues and lacked energy during crucial moments. This was due to a gluten intolerance. Once he changed his diet, Novak Djokovic's true journey began. In 2011, Novak Djokovic's impressive winning streak began, a streak that would last for an entire decade. At the Australian Open, he battled in a thrilling match against the legendary Andy Murray. Rallies like these were a common sight.
Oh, he missed the easy one. That was the easiest forehand that I've ever had.
After Novak lost to Roger Federer in the semifinals of the French Open, He managed to triumph just a few weeks later in the Wimbledon final against Rafael Nadal, securing his third Grand Slam title. The key moment when Djokovic changed tennis as we know it forever came at the 2011 US Open against Roger Federer. Although Djokovic played incredible tennis throughout the year, he wasn't fully embraced by the majority of the crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Federer's fan base was noticeably large, and Roger received loud support. When Novak faced 2 match points, and the majority of the fans were loudly cheering for Roger, he was determined not to lose the match. He saved both match points, a feat he would replicate many times throughout his career. Novak became not just an escape artist, but a mental giant in the world of tennis.
Roger, how's disappointing?
Roger?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what your feelings are now and what you think is so far?
Well, I mean, it's awkward having to explain this loss because I feel like I should be doing the other press conference, but it's what it is, you know. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's the obvious, really. I mean, he came back, he played well. I didn't play so well at the very end, but sure it's disappointing, but worse could be fine.
I'd say the serve was that thing. Did you hit a much better serve than you returned after that winner?
Yeah, much better. I didn't hit the best serve, but it's just the way he returns that. It's just not a guy who believes much, you know, much anymore in winning, and then to lose against someone like that, it's very disappointing because you feel like he was mentally out of it already, you know, and just gets the lucky shot in, and then he should go.
What do you do better when a guy hits a shot like that forehand on a match point? Is that a function of luck, of risk, or is it a function of confidence that someone would take that kind of a
Confidence?
risk?
Are you kidding me? I mean, please. Look, some players grow up and play like that. I remember losing junior matches and they just being down 5-2 in the third, and they all just start slapping shots, and it all goes in for some reason because that's the kind of way they grew up playing when they were down. I never played that way, and I believe in hard work's going to pay off kind of thing, you know, because early on maybe I didn't always work at my hardest. So for me this is very hard to understand how you can play a shot like that on match point. But look, maybe he's been doing it for 20 years, so for him it was very normal. You got to ask him.
By the time he won the US Open, it was clear not just to his rivals, but also to the fans that Novak Djokovic was here to stay. Not everyone was thrilled about this, especially the large fan bases of Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. The more often Novak Djokovic dominated his 2 rivals, the stronger the resistance from their fan bases grew. They couldn't handle the fact that Roger and Rafa's GOAT race was being disrupted by Novak, let alone that he was inviting himself to the GOAT party. Novak felt this resistance in nearly every match, with the stadiums becoming increasingly hostile. Points won by Rafa or Roger were celebrated with enthusiasm, while Novak's points were merely tolerated.
Excuse me, Mr. Federer, I spoke too soon.
Another moon ball from Djokovic. Hopefully they will calm down a little bit as this match gets into its groove.
The situation reached a whole new level during the 2019 Wimbledon final. It felt like the entire stadium, with a capacity of 15,000 spectators, was cheering for Roger Federer. Not only were Federer's points celebrated, but even Novak's double faults on his serve were met with cheers. After Novak, much like at the 2011 US Open, saved 2 match points and won the final, he was asked in the press conference how he managed to handle the entire stadium cheering for Federer.
That's a good question because, at times you just try to ignore it, which is quite hard. I like to, transmutate it in a way. So when the crowd is chanting Roger, I hear Novak, so that's... I know, it sounds silly, but it is like that. I try to convince myself that it's like that. And
is that like a mental training, or is that something you're doing with it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are those who are so consumed by hatred that they have turned from fans into ordinary haters. Time and again, these brave individuals hide behind the crowd and loudly vent their frustration at Novak Djokovic. This has been particularly evident at the Australian Open. In 2023, there was even a group of disguised haters who constantly provoked Djokovic during his serve.
Get security guard, get him out of the stadium.
I think it might be.
Thanks. When they were eventually escorted out of the stadium, there were actually grown men who praised their behavior and shook their hands. It seems that these people don't buy an expensive ticket to enjoy the tennis, but to vent their frustration. Otherwise, this behavior is hard to explain. A similar incident was recorded in 2024. An older man was provoking Novak during a match, and Novak refused to let it slide. He challenged the man to repeat the insult to his face. The situation had developed its own momentum. Novak had become a polarizing figure. So-called wannabe tennis fans who showed little respect for the players were not used to someone standing up to them and advocating for justice on and off the court. This provided additional targets for the media to exploit. They knew that controversial articles about Novak generated high numbers of clicks, likes, and shares, which in turn promised higher advertising revenues. Every minor misstep by Novak was blown out of proportion by certain journalists. Provocative questions in interviews were also commonplace.
Yes, good thing for you that they will ask you about Agassi, so nobody asks you about you. I'd like to know if...
But that's why you are here.
I'd like to know if when you have a positive attitude, when you say, okay, good that I played 5 sets, but wouldn't you prefer to be Rafael Nadal who wins 6-love, 6-1, 6-love, and 1 hour and 30 minutes? Wouldn't you change?
I really don't understand that question.
Try. Should I ask Agassi?
You should ask Nadal. I think you're a bit late for his press conference. It was 4 hours ago. I am who I am and I'm happy with that. Thank you.
¿Cómo sufrí cuando perdió el último, contra Djokovic allí?
Fue una derrota dura esa.
Uf, se me saltó una lágrima.
Sí, fue durilla. La verdad que sí.
Lo pasaste mal hasta tú, ¿eh?
Sí, yo creo que en aquel momento sí.
Íbamos todos con Roger, porque es como...
Bueno, yo no puedo decir eso.
Ya lo sé, pero sé que sí.
Next one, but definitely a bit of a surprise, to see Djokovic, a defending champion, go out.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be diplomatic, but we're kind of surprised also with the heat getting into him like that and seeing him stop.
Well, it's happened before, so it's not the guy who's never given up in his career, So.
Hi, Novak. Congratulations. I didn't necessarily mean this to be the first question because it's not about today's match or even the next one. It's more of an overview. What's it been like to be something of the bad guy chasing after Roger and Rafa all these years?
I don't consider myself a bad guy, but I mean, it's your opinion. But I'm not chasing anybody. I'm making my own path and my own journey and, you know, my own history. So I'm privileged to be part of the history of this sport that I love. And as I said on the court, I know about a lot of stats. I don't know about all of them, but they do motivate me even more, you know, to play my best tennis at the events that count the most in our sport.
As a result, Novak was framed in the media as a tennis bad boy with a poor character. When you ask critics why they find Novak unlikable, you rarely get a clear answer. Most simply repeat what the media portrays or openly admit that it's because he has frequently beaten Federer and Nadal. Many hate comments directed at Novak criticize his supposedly poor character. However, the real question is, what does this say about the character of those who share terrible messages online or hinder him from fulfilling his purpose by insulting and provoking him in the stadiums? Do these people have the right to judge someone they only know from TV and newspapers? Or are they simply bitter and unhappy, projecting their insecurities onto someone else? Novak Djokovic is as relentless in his pursuit of every point on the court as he is generous in spirit. He consistently shows immense respect for his opponent's great plays and acknowledges their efforts, even in his moments of greatest defeat. He demonstrated this when his great Olympic dream was shattered, such as in 2016 in Rio against Juan Martín del Potro, or in 2021 in Tokyo against Alexander Zverev. In 2021, he had the chance to win the Grand Slam but fell short against Medvedev. Despite this, he made sure to congratulate Medvedev on his incredible performance. A story that reveals Novak's true character off the tennis court was shared by Medvedev after the 2021 final. He recounted how Novak warmly and humbly welcomed him when Medvedev was still relatively unknown.
Just to tell you a small story, guys. First I practiced with Novak when I was, I think, like 500 in the world or 600 in the world in Monaco, and so he was already number one, just won Wimbledon. And I thought, okay, he's not gonna speak to me or something, because the guy was a god for me. And I came there, and because I was shy, so I didn't speak, so he was asking me questions, talking to me like a friend. I was really surprised, and it never changed since I was 600 in the world or 4 in the world. You're a great sport, great person, so congratulations.
Novak Djokovic's exemplary behavior consistently shines through. Knowing firsthand how challenging it was to finance his tennis dream, he now uses his resources to help wherever he can. One example of this is his support for Hamad Medjedovic. Hamad's father, Eldon, recounted to Sportal about the second meeting with Novak. I remember the second conversation I had with Novak ever. We spoke about specific steps in Hamad's career. Novak was presenting me with ideas, what to do with Hamad's game, and I remember telling him, "Noel, I am sorry, but the things you are talking about cost a lot of money." And he just keeps going about coaches. What are we going to do and how? And then says, all Hamad needs to do is to work hard. I will take care of the rest. This isn't the first time Novak has supported the Balkan region. Back in 2014, during the flood disaster in Serbia and Bosnia, he donated over $1 million. He is deeply committed to supporting the Balkan region, not only through financial contributions, but also by advocating for the respect and recognition that the people of the Balkans deserve.
Fantastično je kada se na najvećoj sportskoj smotri u istoriji sporta dokažu male nacije kao što su Srbija, Hrvatska i ostale zemlje iz regiona, da osvoje zlato u tako važnim sportovima i da slave pre 15.000 ljudi ispred Eiffelovog tornja. Mislim, mora čovjek da se uštine, jer misli da žive sam.
And he gave a tennis racket to your kids as well? Do they play
He met
tennis?
my kids and they were super impressed by him, and they don't play tennis, they do football and martial arts, so but they were super happy to meet him, and he's a nice guy. I mean, the person you see in TV is the real person also. So obviously, you have these athletes that one thing on camera, another thing in real. But this person is what he is on TV and real, and that is what I like with him, because he's funny, he's a good guy, he has positive vibes, and easy to hang out with.
Andiamo! Jutro je! Jutro je!
If you've enjoyed the video so far and like our work, we'd be grateful for a thumbs up or a subscription. In an article from the Swiss newspaper Tages-Anzeiger, journalist Simon Graf poses the GOAT question to Mark Hodgkinson, the author of a biography on Djokovic. You are expressing what you repeatedly write in your book, that Djokovic is the GOAT, the greatest player of all time. Isn't he rather the BOAT, the best? Isn't the greatest the one who had the most significant impact on the sport? So, Roger Federer? When Djokovic had only won one Grand Slam and the records were still far off, the GOAT question was answered solely based on numbers. Now that Djokovic has reached those records, people grasp at straws to deny him this status, using subjective arguments like influence and impact in tennis. Before exploring Djokovic's influence on tennis, it's crucial to debunk the claim that he is the weak-era GOAT, who won titles only after Federer declined and Nadal struggled with injuries. This claim is not only highly disrespectful to Djokovic, but also to the other tennis players he has competed against. Between 2011 and 2016, Novak Djokovic won 11 Grand Slam titles, Rafael Nadal won 5, and Roger Federer won 1. Some might argue that Federer was at a disadvantage due to his age and Nadal due to injuries. However, when you look closer at the age differences, Federer is 6 years older than Djokovic, while Nadal is just 1 year older. Moreover, age didn't seem to be a problem in 2017 when Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal shared the Grand Slam titles while Novak Djokovic was out due to injury, just as it was before 2011. In 2023, at the age of 36, Novak Djokovic reached all 4 Grand Slam finals, winning 3 of them. He also claimed the Masters titles in Cincinnati and Paris, as well as the ATP finals. The age difference between Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz is 16 years, and between Djokovic and Jannik Sinner, it's 14 years. Would you still call them weak? I argue that both Alcaraz and Sinner are already further along at their age than the big three were 16 years ago. Are you really going to use age as an argument now? When it comes to injuries, they are a part of the game. The better one learns to listen to their body, the more effectively they can prevent injuries. Professional sports involve more than just hours in the gym or on the court. Recovery and mental training are equally important. When we look at the numbers, there's no debate. Novak Djokovic has won everything there is to win in tennis and holds the most significant records. However, measuring Novak Djokovic solely by his numbers would not do him justice. He is much more than just the most successful tennis player in history. Djokovic's influence extends far beyond the sport of tennis. In an interview, John McEnroe said that Novak Djokovic is often seen as Darth Vader. In a way, that's true. Djokovic was the chosen one who was supposed to bring balance to the Force. Had Djokovic not come onto the tour, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal might each have won 30 Grand Slam titles. Thanks to Djokovic, future generations now have the chance to aspire to Grand Slam records as achievable goals. Whether it was the longest Australian Open final in 2012 against Rafael Nadal, which lasted over 5 hours and 53 minutes, or the iconic Wimbledon final in 2019 against Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic was always the defining figure. One particularly unforgettable moment was the 2021 semifinal in Paris. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Paris had a curfew starting at 9 p.m. But the French government lifted this curfew because of the high-stakes match. What truly defines a GOAT? When we look at titles, records, and statistics, the most objective criteria for determining a GOAT, there's no denying Djokovic's place at the top. On this matter, there simply isn't any room for debate. Considering that Djokovic has been in peak form since 2011 and has won titles against multiple generations of players, including greats like Federer, Nadal, Murray, Medvedev, Sinner, and Alcaraz, this provides a compelling argument for his status as the GOAT. Through his authentic nature, Djokovic has elevated interest in tennis to a new level. Even those who typically have little to do with the sport have heard of this rebel from Serbia and wanted to follow his story. He is an inspiration for the idea that, even when people wish you harm and spread hate, you can overcome any challenge with a pure heart, no matter how daunting it may seem. The biggest challenge in Novak Djokovic's career, however, was set to begin in 2022.
Just a few hours, the Australian Open gets underway without the defending champ Novak Djokovic.
The Australian Open is about to begin in Melbourne without its defending men's champion. Novak Djokovic has been deported after losing his legal challenge to the cancelling of his visa. The judges ruled in favour of the Australian government, who said his refusal to be vaccinated against COVID made him a threat to public health. From Melbourne, Shaima Khalil reports.
And with Novak having been an exception, no? We always had a great relationship. Honestly, I wish him all the best. I think the situation has been a mess. He's not the only one that did probably the things bad in that case. Of course, there is more responsibles on all this terrible situation that we faced for the last 2 weeks. But of course, he's one of the responsibles too, no? So in a personal level, yes, I would like to see him playing here. If it's fair or not that he's playing here, it's another discussion that I don't want to talk anymore about that.
Ultimately, are you prepared to forego the chance to be the greatest player that ever picked up a racket, statistically, because you feel so strongly about this jab?
Yes. I do.
But as things stand, if this means that you miss the French Open, is that a price you'd be willing to pay?
Yes, that is the price that I'm willing to pay.
And if it means that you miss Wimbledon this year, again, that's a price you're willing to pay?
Yes.
Why, Novak? Why? Why?
Because the principles of decision-making on my body are more important than any title.
Not only were Wimbledon points in 2022 not counted towards the ATP rankings due to the Ukraine war, but he also couldn't compete in the US Open that year. As a result, he had to watch as Carlos Alcaraz won his first Grand Slam and became the youngest world #1 in tennis history.
Sensational from Carlos Alcaraz.
Your 2022 U.S. Open men's champion, Carlos Alcaraz.
In 2023, the game changed. With COVID-19 restrictions eased, Novak Djokovic not only had to prove himself again to his critics, but also faced the new generation of players like Alexander Zverev, Daniil Medvedev, Jannik Sinner, and Carlos Alcaraz. The rest is history.
Look at these highlights. Now that's the bird's eye view of the final point chip. Kind of use the dimensions of the...
After being used by the Australian government for PR purposes in the COVID-19 debate and subsequently deported in 2022, he faced immense pressure when he returned in 2023 to reclaim his throne. This pressure finally released when he won the Australian Open, securing his 22nd Grand Slam title. This was not meant to be the last great match for the tennis titan. Victory belongs to the most tenacious. This quote, which looms over court Philippe Chatrier, takes on a special significance after Novak Djokovic's epic triumph at the 2023 French Open. After more than a decade of relentless pursuit, Novak secures his record-breaking 23rd Grand Slam title in 2023. After Alcaraz defeated Novak Djokovic in a tight and high-quality Wimbledon final, the media went into a frenzy. With Federer retired and Nadal sidelined by injury, both the media and Djokovic's detractors have found new hope in the 16 years younger Spaniard as someone who might finally stop Djokovic. His sponsor even spoke of a new era in tennis. It didn't take long for the two tennis players to face off again, this time in the final of the 2023 Cincinnati Masters. It was one of the best tennis matches I've ever witnessed. After nearly 4 hours of relentless battle, Novak managed to prevail against the new era of tennis, a truly epic moment for all true tennis fans.
Into the US Open semi-final.
He said, I think I can bring...
By the way, forget my idea of hitting it flat hard out wide in the deuce, because he did.
After Novak won the 2023 US Open, people truly realized just how exceptional Djokovic is. At 36, he reached the finals of all 4 Grand Slams, narrowly missing the calendar Grand Slam by just a few points.
He is one of the most remarkable athletes you will see in any sport, in every way possible. The drive, the hunger, the will he still has after all his achievements is crazy. He is one in a billion.
Thanks to Novak Djokovic, the legacy of the Big Three has been passed on to the next generation. Players like Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz had the chance to experience firsthand in spectacular matches the level at which Novak, Rafa, and Roger have competed over the last decade.
I have to say one thing, because for me, there's nobody in the world that should be respected more than Novak. Where he came from, what he's achieved, he's the greatest player of all time, and I think, you know, people forget that sometimes, and I think that everybody should appreciate that for once.
Although 2023 was one of the most successful years in Novak Djokovic's career, marked by spectacular tennis, it also highlighted that to compete with the future stars of the sport, he had to push himself to the absolute limit. This became evident in the 2024 Davis Cup, where despite holding 3 match points, he ultimately lost the match. 2 weeks later, Novak also fell to Jannik Sinner in the semifinals of the Australian Open.
He's got it. 6-7, 6-3.
It seemed 2024 wasn't going to be Djokovic's year. Not only had he yet to win a single tournament or find his rhythm, but he also suffered a knee injury during the French Open. After defeating Musetti, he was forced to withdraw from the tournament. Determined to keep his dream of Olympic gold, the final missing piece in his extraordinary career, alive, he underwent surgery immediately after the French Open. 5 weeks after his knee surgery, Novak Djokovic reached the Wimbledon final for the 10th time. On the other side of the net stood none other than Carlos Alcaraz, who had also won the French Open. Unfortunately, the final didn't go as Djokovic had hoped. Carlos Alcaraz dominated in 3 sets and earned a well-deserved victory. Although Novak could be satisfied that his knee held up under the strain, the outcome of the Wimbledon final revealed a stark reality. The future of tennis has taken the reins, and the path to Olympic gold now runs through Carlos Alcaraz. After 3 failed attempts, Novak achieved the impossible on his 4th try. Just a few weeks after knee surgery, he defeated the 16 years younger top favorite and finally won the long-awaited Olympic gold medal for his country. The last missing piece of the puzzle. Throughout, he relied solely on his self-confidence and faith in God. Victories, titles, records, all of that is temporary. Just as Novak Djokovic has broken every record, someone else will eventually come along and surpass those numbers. It's in the nature of every athlete. But true greatness isn't just about victories. It's about overcoming extraordinary challenges. The story of a young boy from the Balkans who dreamed of becoming the best tennis player in the world, facing hatred, envy, and even discrimination along the way, has become legendary. He may not have been the champion you wanted, but he is the champion we deserved. People laughed at him and judged him, but he stood strong. Because he is a relentless fighter, a fearless warrior, the greatest of all time.
A šta najviše voliš u tenisu? Pa najviše volim tenisu forehand, backhand i volej. S njima pobeđujem ove protivnike. A da li se protivnici ljute kad ih pobediš? Ne. A ti kad oni pobede? Ne. Znači pravi fair play.